let's talk to Daniel Jeremiah, my compadre from NFL Network, former NFL scout, @MoveTheSticks on Twitter. Where do you stand on this issue about Fournette and how well he's performed so far? Do you believe that he should be allowed, that this rule should be changed for people like him?
I don't know, Rich. I like it the way it is. You know, I like the fact that we get mature guys coming into the NFL. I like the fact we don't have 18 and 19-year-old kids that need to sit. I mean, the Adrian Peterson and Leonard Fournettes are so rare, you know, to even have the discussion about potentially being able to move up to the professional ranks at that age. I mean, those guys are so rare. And I just don't think you change the overall rule for a couple rare exceptions.
So where do you then stand on the issue of Fournette doing what he says he's not going to do, but many people think he should do, which is sit out his junior year and avoid becoming the next Marcus Lattimore, for the lack of a better example? How do you think the NFL evaluation community would view that by Fournette? Mike Mayock answered that question about a half an hour ago. I'm wondering what your thought would be, Daniel.
Well, I mean, I just go back to my time in scouting and the two experiences that I had dealing with it. I mean, I had to, you know, go through the Mike Williams thing. I went through the Maurice Clarett evaluation, and everybody knows how those stories ended up. So, yeah, I don't like it. I think you come back and you play. You don't think about it. You don't worry about getting hurt. The Lattimore thing is so rare. You know, even look at, you know, we had McGahee get hurt. He goes high. Gurley gets hurt. He still goes high. Sam Bradford gets hurt. He's the #1 overall pick. You know, to have a really kind of a career-ending injury like Marcus Lattimore is so rare. And the other side of it is now we have these insurance policies that exist. I just saw a thing today that said that Ifo Ekpe-Olumu from Oregon, who got hurt, you know, and got picked very late by the Cleveland Browns and had a really bad injury, he's going to cash in on an insurance policy that he had taken out. So to me, I think you start focusing on that, and I think you might be more likely to get injured. I just think you've made your hay playing the game. These guys are ultra competitive, and those guys aren't going to sit out for a year.
Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network, former scout, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show as always. So, who is the young man that we're not talking enough about because Fournette's taken up too much oxygen in the college football media world?
Well, there's some really good players on the defensive side of the ball. I'll give you two guys that I think you'll start to hear more and more as we go out throughout the year. But Jalen Smith from Notre Dame, get a chance to watch him this week going up against Clemson. He's as explosive, as fast of a linebacker, and as dynamic as I've seen since Patrick Willis was playing. You talk about somebody that can just go sideline to sideline, make all kinds of plays. He's a stud. Jalen Ramsey, the corner for Florida State, might be one of the best secondary players we've seen over the last few years. He has a chance to come out in this year's draft. We'll see what he does. But those two defensive players are dynamic, and just you're going to hear more and more about them as the year goes on. And then quarterback-wise, coming into the season, I was kind of locked in on the Big Ten, Rich. And now, you know, all eyes are kind of towards the Bay Area to see Jared Goff as he continues to progress up at Cal. He is a very fun player to watch. He's got good size. He can move around. He's got a live arm, and he's got the Cal Bears off to a great start.
Mike said he hasn't viewed enough tape on underclassmen yet. So where do you stand on the conversation that Goff is the next Aaron Rodgers? Pump the brakes, or that's a quality comparison?
Yeah, I would pump the brakes on that one. Just different. They're different guys. Aaron Rodgers, you know, you talk about arm strength at a little bit different level than Goff, and even just kind of a natural feel for the position that Aaron had and some of the pinpoint accuracy stuff that he had. Those are rare traits. But Goff is very poised. He can move around a little bit. He can extend plays. And he looks, you know, sometimes it's hard to explain it, Rich, but the game looks like it's slow for him. And that's what you want to see at that position.
Daniel Jeremiah joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Removing what happened last year and how that places teams in a certain ranking preseason, just on the games that we have seen over the first month of the season, Daniel Jeremiah,
yep.
Give me your top 5 teams based on what you have seen. I don't want to know what they did last year, and that gives them the position that they have in the order. Who are your top 5 based on what you have seen just play in the 2015 college football season?
Ooh,
DJ.
That's great. That's a great question there. You know, I would say, I know people, gosh, that's tough. Ole Miss, just for what they did to Alabama would be up there. I would have Michigan State up there. Gosh, that's a tough one.
That's why I asked it.
I would say Georgia. Rich, but I think they're going to lose to Alabama this week. And then how do you not put Utah up there with what they did at Oregon?
Yes, I agree. But so you would go Notre Dame, Ole Miss. I'm not asking you for an order, but these are your top 5. Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Georgia, Utah. Would you throw UCLA in there?
You know what, UCLA. I watched the BYU game, and we saw what your Wolverines did to BYU.
Yes.
So that gives me a little bit of pause there.
Well, I'm as homery as they come. I think BYU was properly tenderized by the point that they walked into the big house. And Michigan is doing very well, and I'm very happy to see it. But, I don't know if you can say what Michigan did to BYU makes anything less impressive what UCLA did, in my estimation.
Yeah, and
DJ.
UCLA had a nice win on the road against Arizona. But this is going to be, again, one of the reasons why I'm a little bit hesitant there is I think this weekend they need to be careful with Arizona State, because Arizona State, USC matched up very well against them. They tried to really, really heat up and blitz like crazy against a senior quarterback in Cody Kessler, and USC had a lot of talent on the outside, and they kind of torched him. I think now they come after a young freshman quarterback like that, and Josh Rosen. Maybe he gives them a couple. So that to me is kind of it's a dangerous game for UCLA this week.
But I notice you're not saying the Ohio State University is definitely in your top 5.
I think Ohio State, Rich, is unquestionably the most talented team in college football. They have not played like it so far.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, look, maybe it's a little bit of a hangover from last year. I know Virginia Tech is a tough environment, but they really haven't had that marquee opponent to kind of get you cranked up and get the best out of them. Maybe we'll see that as we get towards the bottom part of their schedule. We'll see some of these opponents improve. But, maybe this is the week. They play at Indiana. Indiana's got a little bit of buzz going. Eventually it's going to happen. They have so much more talent than everybody else they play. Eventually you're going to see this all kind of come together.
Do you think Michigan deserves to be ranked, or they're just winning games that they should be winning after 2 years where they didn't win those games, and Harbaugh just physically being on that sideline gets them the sizzle enough for votes?
I've heard people say that. I've heard, if anybody else is coaching that team, they're not ranked. But if you watched that Utah game, and I'm sure you did, Rich.
Oh, I did.
They moved the ball up and down the field against a very good defense. They just turned it over. They were right there with Utah, and as we know now, Utah's pretty darn good.
Well, I watched that game. I also watched the pregame where there was a certain blower of the hardness who said that Harbaugh would never have this team in the top 10, wouldn't have them in the top 10 over a 3-year period. They're 12 spots away from that top 10 right now.
3-year period or 3 months?
For 3 years, yeah. It could have always. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say this team is back, right? It just the arrow's trending upward. They got a game at Maryland this week, and then they have back-to-back games against Northwestern and Michigan State. Maybe we revisit the issue after those two.
But can't you see the personality already on the team?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's fantastic.
To me, it's just so reminiscent of Stanford, who was the softest program, if not the West Coast, maybe the country. And how immediately, maybe they lost some games here or there those first couple years, but you knew you were in a fight when you played them, and that's already like that with Michigan.
Last question for you, DJ. I think Chris Law has a particular prep star of note that you want evaluated?
DJ, you probably saw this guy. He's kind of blown up the past week on social media. But,
nice use of words.
John Cran from Martin Luther King High School in Riverside, 440 pounds, 7 feet tall. I mean, what do you make of this? And in all of your days evaluating prospects in college or even at the high school level, have you ever seen someone of this stature?
No, I've never seen anybody like that. And, that high school is about 45 minutes away from my house. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about making the trek out there just to see this guy. But you sound like when you're going to announce, him, if he's coming out of the tunnel, you have to get like the WWE announcer, because it sounds like that's like made up numbers.
It does. We're looking for the radio audience. We're looking at him on screen right now, and next to the other prep kids at 7 feet, 440 pounds, he looks like Andy Reid from the punt, pass, and kick contest a couple of decades ago.
Just tell me that just once for Halloween, maybe just once, he puts on the Andre the Giant singlet and goes out and gets some candy.
And go storm the castle.
We can call him the Big Show.
They can go storm the castle.
Oh yeah, he's only mostly dead, Rich.
No, but he does look he looks like he can do some things, though. It's not just his size. It looks like he can move.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, there was a defensive tackle out of Tennessee a few years ago that went to the Steelers, McCullers, who was like 6'8", 360. You know, and he looked enormous on a college field. This guy's much bigger than that. And he's playing on a high school field.
I cannot wait. Hopefully he has a good career, goes to college, and makes the combine, because I'm just doing the math in my head. I will be 50 that year at the combine if he goes there, and if this is senior and he goes through college. I have to wait till I'm 50 years old to maybe beat somebody in the 40-yard dash
beat
at the
him in the
combine.
40? That's the
What
question.
do you think, DJ? Yes or no? As a 50-year-old man.
Rich, you are, every time I see you, I don't know who you're working out with or who you're training with, but you just you're like getting in better shape every time I see you. I mean, I don't see these times going up. I see these times going down.
I work out with the well-being manager here in Los Angeles, a fellow named Paul Lubitsch, who's
kudos to Paul.
He's an Aussie. The only football he knows is Jared Hayne. Other than that, we just sit there and we work out. We don't talk football.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's plyometrics involved in your training, Rich.
We talk winning, DJ.
There you go.
That's what we talk. Hey, thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Give me the 411 on everything.
I appreciate it, Rich. Fun football weekend ahead. Looking forward to it.
I look forward to it. At Move the Sticks, DJ Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.